All right, Shalom, Shalom, Israel, Shalom to the 12 tribes of Yasha Allah, giving the course, all honor, glory, and praise unto the Most High God, Yahweh, Bahashem, Bahashiach, Yahweh Shah, that's all praises on the glorification unto the Most High God, Yahweh. In the name of his only begotten Son, Mahashiach Yahweh Shah, who the world refers to as Jesus Christ, whose real name is Yahweh Shah, and he is the Savior in the nation of Israel. All right, Shalom, Shalom. This is Brother Yasha Allah coming back to y'all with yet another video through the Spirit and power of Yahweh, Bahashem, Mahashiach Yahweh Shah. All right. Now, as you can see, this is going into what? A crown of righteousness, right? Now, where do I get that phrase from? I get that from the book of 2 Timothy chapter 4, right? Let's go to the book of 2 Timothy chapter 4. Because, Paul, right? And to spoil it, if you haven't read 2 Timothy, 1 Timothy, these were certain letters, or as they would say in the scriptures, it would say epistle, which is just a different way to, or like more of a formal way to say letter, right? Epistle. But these were letters written by Paul the apostle to Timothy, right, regarding certain things about the church, and how to be a bishop, how to lead the church. That's mainly what the topic was about, right? In these two letters, but they're really good, right? They're really for the edification of the body of Israel. You know what I'm saying? But what Paul was, look, from what I would say, Paul was kind of flexing, right, a little bit. And out of all the people on the earth or throughout history in Israel who have the right to flex, Paul is probably one of them that's up top, because Paul even said in the book of First Corinthians chapter 15, right, in verses 7 on down, he said, "But I labor more abundantly than they all." Who's the all, right? The all is talking about the apostles, right? The apostles that actually came into the truth before him. Paul, he went through a lot of stuff. He was laboring. In the book of Acts, he even records one account about him preaching all day until midnight, right? What brother can say, that they have been that they preached all day, literally all day until midnight? You know what I'm saying? And then afterward, kind of rested. You know, that's what Paul did in the book of Acts. Paul, he got beat up, he got stoned in Acts chapter 14, right? And he still was doing the work. He got persecuted. You read about the persecutions of Paul as he talks about it in the book of 2 Corinthians, the 11th chapter. You know what I'm saying? Paul was going through it, right? And he was on fire, zealous for the Lord. Even talks about that in the book of Acts chapter 20, right? So Paul, if he wants to, boast a little bit, like he says in the book of Philippians chapter 3, if any man thinketh that he have whereof he might trust in the flesh, I more. You know what I'm saying? Meaning, hey, I got something to glory of, right? Like he says in the book of 2 Corinthians chapter 11, I got something to glory of, but I would rather glory or be glorified in mine infirmities, that the power of Mahashiach may rest upon me. So Paul, though he was high and risen up, he was also humble. You know what I'm saying? Like, Salaki. I'm just thinking about a lot of precepts to the spirit, of course. It's the book of Sirach, chapter 3, verse 18. The greater thou art, the more humble thyself, and thou shalt find favor before the Most High. You see that? So the greater you are, the humble you should be. The more humble you should be, right? And that's what Yahweh Shah taught as well. The greatest among you shall be your servant, right? That's what he said. You know what I'm saying? Like he says in the book of Luke chapter 9. It's like, this kind of off topic, but spirit is like the wind, right? It's the book of Luke chapter 9 and verse Salakia, right? It's the book of Luke chapter 9 and verse number 46. There arose a reasoning among them, which of them should be greatest, meaning the disciples. They were talking to each other, and they're kind of debating about who should be the greatest, right? Should it be Peter, John, James, maybe Bartholomew? They were arguing or basically debating about who should be the greatest, right? Verse 47, and Yahweh shall perceiving the thought of their heart, took a child and set him by him, and said unto him, whosoever shall receive this child in my name, receiveth me, and whosoever shall receive me, receiveth him that sent me. For he that is least among you all, the same shall be great. You see that? So we got to be like little children. That's why he brought the child there. You know what I'm saying? You got to be like little children, right? Because children, they have a, like a innate sense of meekness a lot of times, right? They're meek, right? Children are meek. First of all, they don't have a history of good works. They just been born just what, a few days ago, metaphorically, right? They just got here yesterday. You know what I'm saying? Metaphorically speaking, of course, right? And so, they don't have a lot of stuff to brag about anyway. So why would they even be proud, right? But children have this innate sense in them to be meek and to be humble, and so that's why Yahweh Shah brought that child before the disciples. You got to be like this child, like it says in the book of Matthew, chapter 18, right? Verse 3 on down, to be reborn, becoming as a little child, meaning forget everything that you once thought in the world, right? You once thought that God loved everybody. You once thought that all nations could be saved. You once thought that Mary was actual virgin, right? And that basically Gabriel gave her the seed, right? Which was Yahweh Shah. You once thought these things. You might have thought, that uh, you might have thought that we came from monkeys. You know what I'm saying? But becoming as a little child also goes into what? Not only renewing your mind, like it says in the book of Psalm chapter 19, right? Not only renewing your mind, but also becoming humble in this thing, right? We got to remain humble in this walk, right? Like a little child, you know what I'm saying? Like a little child. But Slocky, going back to the topic, right? Spirit moved with that as Elizabeth, man, right? This is Slocky. This is the book of 2 Timothy, right? So 2 Timothy, written by Paul the Apostle, 2 Timothy chapter 4 and verse 5, right? 2 Timothy chapter 4, verse 5. It says, "But watch thou in all things," right? We got to be watchful. You know what I'm saying? Watching the prophecies, watching ourselves as well. See where we're going off. See where we're going off at. You know what I'm saying? We got to be watching ourselves. We got to, like it says in the book of Sirach, right? So like, let me get this precept, right? It's the book of Sirach, chapter 37 and verse 27. "My son, prove thy soul in thy life, and see what is evil for it. It give not that unto it. For all things are not profitable for all men, neither have every soul pleasure in everything." So you got to prove yourself in your life as well and see what is evil for it. You know what I'm saying? We got to be examining ourselves, watching others, and also watching the prophecies, right? That goes into watching. Like the Lord said in the book of Luke, chapter 12, I believe, right? You have to remain watching, right? Blessed is that servant when the Lord findeth him watching. You know what I'm saying? Roughly paraphrasing. But this is the book of back in 2 Timothy, chapter 4, verse 5. "But watch thou in all things, endure afflictions." So we have to endure afflictions, right? "Do the work of an evangelist, make full proof of thy ministry." So we have to, do the work of an evangelist is somebody that goes out there and actually does the work, right? Like these camps, right? Us camps, right? We go out there through the Spirit of the Most High, Yahweh Bashem, Yahweh Shah, and actually proclaim the gospel to the Spirit to the people out in the open. That's what an evangelist does, right? So Paul literally is telling Timothy to do the work of an evangelist and convert people into the truth, right? Like it says in the book of James chapter 5, I believe verses 19 through 20, if you convert one from the error of his way, you have saved a soul from death, right? And have hidden a multitude of sins. Verse 6, right? 2 Timothy chapter 4, verse 6. For I am now ready to be offered, and the time of my departure is at hand." So now Paul, he's talking about himself now. Because throughout this letter, right? Throughout this letter, he talks to Timothy, right? And he's talking about other things. He's not really talking about himself. But now Paul is switching up that type of style, and now he's speaking about himself, right? So now he's incorporating, I believe, what is it called? Personal pronouns, right? Like I, right? That's a personal pronoun, I believe, right? If I'm not mistaken. 2 Timothy chapter 4, verse 6, "For I am now ready to be offered, and the time of my departure is at hand." Meaning I'm about to get out of here, right? I'm about to go up to the spiritual realm. Paul knew this, right? He's about to give up the ghost. Verse 7, I have fought a good fight. I have finished my course. I have kept the faith. You see that? And so Paul, you can kind of picture this. Paul is looking over the works that he has done, right? He's looking over the works that he's done and he's saying, look, I fought a good fight. You know what I'm saying? I did everything that I had to do. I did everything that I could have do. I could have. I was on fire for the Lord, right? And I endured into the end, right? Because this is during he's almost about to get killed, right? During this time. Verse 8. So here's the point. Verse 8. Henceforth there is laid up for me a crown of righteousness. See that? He said, henceforth there is laid up for me a crown of righteousness. We pray that we also want that crown of righteousness. And this crown is actual literal crown too. This crown is promised to the Israelites that endure into the end, man. Right? Henceforth there is laid up for me a crown of righteousness, which the Lord the righteous judge shall give me at that day, and not to me only, but unto them also that love his appearing. You see that? So Paul knew, he said, look, there is a crown of righteousness laid up for me. I know that, right? I know that, So that's what Paul said. This is the book of Revelation chapter 2, verse 10. The elect, they're going to receive these crowns, right? Which also symbolizes authority and power, right? That's what the crown really symbolizes. But these are literal crowns as well, right? Revelation chapter 2, verse 10. Fear none of those things which thou shalt suffer. Behold, the devil shall cast some of you into prison. Right? The devil's Esau. All right, the so-called white man. That's the devil, right? Because what does devil mean? Devil means slander or deceiver, right? And it says in the book of Revelation that the devil deceived the whole world, right? And Esau has deceived the whole world, right? Into many lies, right? Even tells you in the book of Jeremiah that many shall come, right, from the east and from the west, and they're going to confess, right? The Gentiles are going to confess that they have inherited lies and vanity and deceit, right? From where? From Esau. It says the devil shall cast some of you into prison that you may be tried. So we're going to be cast into prison, some of us, right? And you got brother the mighty brother Naquam. He got thrown in prison, right? Or he was arrested, a few days ago. You know what I'm saying? But he got out now, right, through the Spirit. It says, and he shall have tribulation 10 days. It's not a literal 10 days, right? This 10 days is just 10 just meaning it's a number of completion, right? Because when you go to the book of Job, right? Let's go to the book of Job. Job chapter 19 and verse 3. It says, these 10 times have you reproached me. You are not ashamed that you make yourself strange to me. So 10 just means it's just a number of completion, right? So, you can be thrown in jail for this 10 could mean, 2 days. It could mean 7 days. It could be a literal 10 days. It could be a month. You know what I'm saying? This 10 is just a perfected amount of days. However, how long the Lord wants you in that prison. You know what I'm saying? If you can understand that. Because in the book of Job, why Job said that, he said, these 10 times have you reproached me. Now, did Job actually sit down and tally mark how many times these three men are reproaching him? Right? Well, that's a reproach. No, Job, he didn't do that. There's no account of him, counting how many times they reproached him. So he just said 10, because 10 is just a number of completion, So if that makes sense. But anyways, getting back to the point, Revelation 2 and 10, and he shall have tribulation 10 days. Be thou faithful unto death, and I'll give thee a crown of life. You see that? It says, hey, Yahweh said, endure to the end. Be faithful unto death, and I'm going to give you a crown of life, man. Right? I'm going to give you a seat, right, next to me. Hey, we want that crown, man, because we're kings, right? Read that in the book of Exodus chapter 35 and verse 11. You know what I'm saying? The Lord told Jacob that kings shall come out of his loins, man. Right? So we're kings walking this earth. But let's get another precept. It's the book of Sirach, chapter 15 and verse number 2. Right? And as a mother shall she meet him and receive him as a wife married of a virgin. With the bread of understanding shall she feed him and give him the water of wisdom to drink. Right? So like I'm gonna skip down to verse 6. He shall find joy and a crown of gladness, and she shall cause him to inherit an everlasting name. You see that? So wisdom, right? Wisdom does a lot for us, right? Wisdom gives us knowledge, of course, endows us to be wise, right? And enables us to be wise. And wisdom also promises a crown, right? A crown of gladness. You know what I'm saying? So we want that crown of righteousness. We want that crown of gladness, man. We want that crown of life, right? Because that's a crown is suitable for a king. You know what I'm saying? Hey, brother, if you're watching this, right? If you're a so-called Black, Hispanic, Native American, namely in this truth, man, you're a king, man, right? You're a prince, right? Walking this earth. Hey, if you descend from Yasha'Allah, right? If you descend from Israel, right? Remember, Israel in the Hebrew is Yasha'Allah, right? Which is also my name too, right? But hey, it's all of our names. It's because we all descend from Yasha'Allah, so-called Blacks, Hispanics, Native Americans. What does Yasha'Allah mean? Yah means he. Shar means prince. Allah means power or God, right? So he is the prince of God. That's what it means. Right? So you're a prince, you're a king. And so crowns are suitable for kings, man. Right? There's another precept in that crown, right? Slovakia. But yeah, we're going to receive those crowns, Lord willing, if we endure. You know what I'm saying? If we endure, we're going to have those crowns on our head, right? We're going to have those crowns on our head. All right? But yeah, Khan, Slovakia, I didn't want to make this too long. Right? Let me see if I can get another precept on that. Just blanked out. All right, lost my train of thought. Slovakia. But Khan, yeah, Slovakia. Hold on. But yeah, Khan, with that, all right, I'm gonna close out. I'm gonna get a closing precept. Right? I'm gonna get a closing precept. But yeah, Khan, real quick. Yeah, Slovakia, real quick. I'm gonna get the book of James. Right? I'll close out this thing. This book of James, chapter 1, and verse 12. Right? James chapter 1 and verse 12. Blessed is the man that endureth temptation. So the Lord said that you're blessed when you endure in temptation, man. Because that's what we're going to that's what we're going to expect in this truth. We have to expect to be tempted, right? Sirach chapter 2, verse 1. What does that say? My son, if thou come to serve the Lord, prepare thy soul from temptation. Set thy heart aright and constantly endure, and make not haste in time of trouble, right? So when we come to serve the Lord, we have to understand that a lot of trials and tribulations are going to come, but it's worth it, man. It's worth it for the kingdom, right? It's worth it for our heart's desire. It's worth it for peace reigning on the earth. It's worth it for us to be back up in our highest state again. It's worth for Yahweh Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shah finally ruling this earth in righteousness again, right? Like it says in the book of Isaiah, right? The righteousness is going to flow like a river, and in Joel, right, the mountain shall drop down milk, and water, fresh water. That's symbolic for this wisdom, knowledge, understanding, right? So that's the kingdom of heaven, man. But we're blessed when we endure in temptation, right? James chapter 1, verse 12. Blessed is a man that endure in temptation, for when he is tried, right? He shall receive the crown of life, which the Lord hath promised to them that love him, right? Hey, out of all the scriptures, hands down, out of all the scriptures in the Bible, right? James chapter 1, verse 12 is probably one of the most best scriptures because it gives us hope, right? When we endure temptation, we got to fight the demons. We got to fight the temptation because we want that crown of life. You know what I'm saying? We want that crown, man, right? We want that kingdom, So Khan, right? So Khan, with that, I'd like to give all honor, glory, and praise unto Yahweh Ba'ashem, Mahashiach Yahweh Shah. Lord willing, this is edifying. You know what I'm saying? Brothers, let's get that crown of righteousness. You know what I'm saying? That Kwam Yasha Allah, the water for tuning in. Shalom. Also, blood moon, right? Blood moon tomorrow, right? So, we gotta look out for that too. Khan, Shalom.